Israel has built hundreds of settlements in the occupied territories beyond what is recognized as the sovereign state of Israel. According to international law, the Fourth Geneva Convention, it is illegal for an occupying power to move its settlements into an occupied territory. But the international community, including the UK, have turned a blind eye to this policy for all these decades. But over the last couple of years, under the Netanyahu right-wing government, Israel has expanded the settlements. More than 200 illegal settlements have built over the last 2 years, taking about 10,000 hectares of land, of Palestinian land, away from Palestinians. And now, in the recent months, we've seen the rise of violence being used by settlers against Palestinian communities.
The Times reports today that Andy Burnham looks set to announce robust sanctions on Israeli settlements in the West Bank. This follows Israel's new plan to build 1,200 settler homes in the region. The Foreign Secretary Ed Miliband said Israel's plans could cut the West Bank in two and make it even more difficult to achieve a two-state solution for Israelis and Palestinians. Gershon Baskin is Middle East Director of International Communities Organization, an NGO working in conflict zones with failed peace processes. He's also a former hostage negotiator, and he joins me now live from Jerusalem.
Hi, Daniel.
Thank you for joining me. Can you explain what's happened? So explain what these settlements are and why they're particularly problematic.
Well, the whole settlement movement is problematic and should have been thought to be problematic by the international community for many, many years. Since 1967, Israel has built hundreds of settlements in the occupied territories beyond what is recognized as the sovereign state of Israel. According to international law, the Fourth Geneva Convention, it is illegal for an occupying power to move its settlements into an occupied territory. But the international community, including the UK, have turned a blind eye to this policy for all these decades. But over the last couple of years, under the Netanyahu right-wing government, Israel has expanded the settlements. More than 200 illegal settlements have built over the last 2 years, taking about 10,000 hectares of land, of Palestinian land, away from Palestinians. And now, in the recent months, we've seen the rise of violence being used by settlers against Palestinian communities. There are several tens of Palestinian communities that have been vacated because of the violent attacks of the Israeli settlers, which the Israeli army gives a green light to. The police don't interfere. And we have this policy going on now of Israel continuing to expand the settlements, and they're doing it prior to the elections that will take place in the end of October. It's clearly Netanyahu and his right-wing parties are speaking to their base.
Do you think that the British government has therefore got a point with its policy? Maybe that policy is right. Would some people in Israel really say, well, yes, go ahead and do that?
Well, here's what I would propose. I mean, what the British government is doing together with other states in the European Union is sanctioning violent settlers. But I think that a policy needs to be made on the whole settlement movement. I'll give you one example. All the countries of the Schengen and the UK allow Israelis who live in the state of Israel visa-free access to those countries. I, as an Israeli, can use my Israeli passport, arrive at the border at Heathrow, and just get visa-free access. But my question is, if the international law perceives Israeli settlements in the occupied territories as being illegal, and these people are not living in the sovereign state of Israel, why do they enjoy visa-free access to the UK or to European countries? Shouldn't the UK be limiting visa-free access to people who are not living in the state of Israel if the agreement for visa-free access is to the state of Israel, not to the occupied territories?
So do you think that the goods boycott is also justified? Because some people have said, well, whatever you think of it, it's not practical.
It is very practical. If you're a foreigner and you want to enter the United States today, you need to fill out a form on the internet.
No, not the visa. Sorry, the boycott of goods.
No, but the boycott of goods is the same thing. If settlement's illegal, then goods that are produced in the settlement should be contraband. They should not be allowed access into the European Union or the United Kingdom under the free trade agreement. These are not being produced in the state of Israel. They're being produced in illegal settlements according to international law. And it's quite easy to prevent illegal goods from entering the UK. And that should be the policy.
How much support do you think there would be for your view in Israel? So certainly among diaspora Jews, of which I'm one, there's a lot of concern about the policy that of settlements and stopping a two-state solution in this way. So how much support would there be for this policy in Israel itself?
With all due respect, I don't think it's a legitimate question. You don't ask someone who's breaking the law if it's okay to break the law. You have a law and you have to keep to the law. And the law says that these settlements are illegal. Obviously, this would not be very popular in Israel. It would have 10, 15%, maybe 20% on a good day support in Israel. I may be even optimistic, but that's not the question.
No, it was the question because it was one I asked. But I just wanted to know what the sort of support there was on the ground. It's interesting that there is opposition to it in Israel itself. I suppose that what people are suggesting is that it might be difficult to distinguish between goods that come from these illegal settlements and distinct.
Not at all. When goods are exported, they have a place of origin. You have to write the place of origin. They have a barcode that indicated. All you do is scan the barcode and see where it's produced. It's not a problem at all. You don't accept goods under a free trade agreement that are not part of the free trade agreement. You can monitor it. Of course, there's always smuggling of contraband, and that's the way it is to be treated, as contraband. These goods should not be labeled as produced in settlements. They should not be allowed into the United Kingdom, period.
So what about, why is the British government, you say that people have had a blind eye to it, but actually what I noticed when I saw it was that I was having discussion with, foreign secretaries from like 5 or even 10 years ago concerned about this very issue, which is dividing the West Bank by a settlement policy that made this two-state solution very difficult. Why, if there has been a blind eye that people have seen this but they've not done anything about it, why has that been? Why has it taken us so long to get to this point?
Well, I think part of it is that the United States has granted Israel impunity for so many years, and many countries of the world were afraid to take action if the United States didn't back it. European Union has made consistent statements of policy for many, many years against the Israeli settlements, but has done very little to translate those statements into policy. And I think that we are past the point of no return here, and more serious action is needed. And if the international community doesn't take this more serious action, then Israel is just walking itself into a place where it is going to be the ultimate pariah state in the world. And I, as an Israeli, am concerned about living in a state which is breaking international law, which is deemed by most countries of the world today as not welcome in international fora because we are becoming a pariah state. This is something against the interest of the state of Israel. It's about time that the international community uses what little leverage they have on the government of the state of Israel. The Israeli people need to know that what their government is doing is bad for Israel's national security interests.
One last question. You made it clear that this shouldn't be a factor, but I wonder, factually on the ground, whether you worry a bit that this policy of boycotts might actually embolden the right, that it might actually help the right in a future election, that the people who are most in favour of these settlements may do better as a result.
It might do that, but I think that looking at the history of South Africa will point us in the right direction. Opposition to apartheid around the world perhaps made apartheid more strong, and the apartheid government hold fast to its policies. But at the end of the day, the international pressure is what broke South Africa and turned South Africa into a democracy and ended the apartheid regime. I think this is the kind of policy that we need to look at Israel. And it should not be interpreted as something which is anti-Semitic. It's not against Israel because Israel is the state of the Jewish people. It's against Israel because what Israel is doing by preventing the Palestinian people from having the same right to the same rights that the Israeli people demand, which is the right to self-determination. Israel deserves security. The Palestinians deserve freedom. Neither side is going to get it until they recognize that the other side needs what it's missing: security for Israel, freedom for the Palestinians, and the international community needs to help us get there.
Gershon Baskin, American-born Israeli columnist. Thank you very much indeed for joining me and giving that very interesting view from inside Israel itself. Coming up on the Times at 1, it's bad news for bills as energy prices for millions of households will rise.